What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here bringing you another video. Today I'm bringing you a video on Power Rangers Super Ninja Steel Episode 5. This is for the sneak peek clip of the episode, and the episode is going to be called Game Plan. So this clip, what we get to see is that 5 of the Rangers that are in the Ranger base, Brody is the one that is actually wanting to train, but the other 4 Rangers are actually playing video games, which is interesting because that's a different sight to see. And what we end up seeing is that Brody wants to train with them, but they're all busy playing the games. They're like, give me a minute, I'm busy, we'll do it in a little while. The typical kind of stuff that people will say when they play video games or just play games in general. And someone wants to do something else. So what does end up happening is that eventually Brody gets annoyed and he basically says, I wish that Preston never had given you these games. So then it switches to us seeing Preston in the school on a bench enjoying the game that they all are playing, and we get to see our first look at the main character for this game, which is the Game Goblin. There's actually a moment where it switches to us being able to see that character, and that's interesting. Then we end up seeing on the Galaxy ship that Madame Odious, Badana, and Game Goblin are talking to each other, and the Game Goblin is very happy because he managed to get enough energy to suck the Rangers in. The only thing is that he wants to keep the Blue Ranger, which is Preston, out. He says that. So the reason why he wants to do that is so that he can continue to gain more energy. So what happens is that it then switches back to us seeing the Rangers that are in the Ranger base together. Brody gets annoyed because the other Rangers that are playing the game are not focused on training, so he ends up taking the game from Levi, and what happens is that Levi gets annoyed, and then the 4 Rangers that actually have the game are sucked into the game. So that includes Brody, Calvin, Sarah, and Haley. So they're all sucked in, and as they enter in, the area that they're in has no one there. So they're very confused as to what's going on. It seems like a very dull area as far as appearance goes, but then suddenly they're approached by the Game Goblin. And the Game Goblin, interestingly enough, actually is done in a CGI look rather than the typical game graphic look that we got to see initially. So that's interesting to see that they actually created some original CGI for this episode. And it's small, and it's a very short look at that CGI, so I mean it's not like it's going to be anything lasting, but what happens is that the Game Goblin basically says is that you thought that you were playing me when I was playing you this whole time, and the Game Goblin transforms into his monster form, because in reality he's a villain. So he turns into his true form, and what happens is that the Game Goblin basically tells the Rangers, we're in a game, you see, and suddenly he shows off points, and so it's like a 50 point, 150 point squares and all that kind of stuff. And what happens is that the Rangers say, since we're in a game, I guess it's morphin time, so they end up morphing. Now, one thing I forgot to also mention, which is very tiny, which is that the Game Goblin does plan on sucking in Levi and Preston in the end, but he hasn't done it yet. Now, as far as things go with this preview clip, it's not too much to really talk about, but I would say I am interested in it. It's nice that they're doing a video game concept because it's not a typical concept. I mean, I can't think of many episodes that they've really ever done with video games. I can think of maybe 2 or 3. Like the episode in Zeo with that monster. If you remember, I'm trying to remember actually don't remember the name of the episode itself, but there is an episode in Zeo where there was a video game monster that happened. There was also the one in Dino Thunder. Like those are the two ones that I can think of off the top of my head with video games. But again, that's definitely going to be interesting to see them do something that's a little bit more uncommon to see in most episodes of the show. And I'm also curious as to whether the Rangers will be able to access their Megazords in this game, or will they have to be brought out via Mick? Like, will Mick have to create some technology or extract them from the games, or will Levi have to be sucked into the game on his own? How will that all work in the end? Very unclear. We'll have to wait and see, of course. The episode airs this weekend, so we'll obviously learn a lot more when this weekend comes along. And after this episode, we'll only have 3 more episodes till the big hiatus that happens for the summer, so keep that in mind. From what we know so far, it does sound like we are getting episodes every single week until the last episode, so like there isn't any breaks, which is kind of unusual because usually there's at least one break in the spring half of the season. But I guess that they're not going for that this year. They did do something like that during the last year's season, so that could just be the same case. They typically will do it most likely during the fall half at least, but I'm not complaining either way. I mean, it's good to know that we get the episodes out, but at the same time, taking more time is not a bad thing either, because the hiatus is just going to feel long anyway, so you might as well give it that extra. You might as well push it out a little further, because it's already going to be a long time. But, you know, I'm not them. They choose what they choose, and that's all that matters in the end. You know, we'll see the episodes either way. So please remember to like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you guys think. I'd love to know your guys' opinions of this small little preview clip. There will be a link in the description below, so check that out if you're interested in watching the clip itself. I will definitely mention it in the comments because I always do that. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.